but here comes Jade Cargill, Malcolm Bivens, and a baddie. I think it was Kiera Hogan.
Yeah, she's all right.
She's very small. And they had some guy with them. And apparently Layla Gray is injured. I mean, we need to do an updated injury list on these people, but because half the roster or more is down and out. But they said Layla Gray is injured and Statlander is banned from ringside. And of course, Jane mentioned that she's always that bitch. Why does she want to call herself a bitch? That used to be a derogatory
She doesn't.
term.
She doesn't want to call herself a bitch. She wants to call herself that bitch.
Well, being that bitch is even worse than being a bitch. That bitch is even more bitchy than just your regular bitch. What about if Marlo Thomas, instead of being that girl, could have been that bitch? Sunshine, that bitch. Anyway, it's that bitch. And suddenly she's on the TV for you.
I like too when she points it out. She's like, my family's in the audience, and you know I'm that bitch. I'm like, what? Your kid's listening, lady.
So this was Jade Cargill and Kiera Hogan against Willow Nightingale and Athena. And apparently the guy with Bivens is Jermaine Dupree. And he's somebody, apparently.
Yeah, he's a big deal. Big-time producer. Very successful.
Who'd he ever beat up?
He's never beat anyone, but he's a pretty big star, and he's from Atlanta, so that's why they had him on the show.
Okay. So this was started out as a training school girls tag team match where they tried to do a lot of stuff and some dangerous dives. And poor Kiera Hogan, they kept trying to squish her because the bigger girls were just falling on her with all their body weight. And then suddenly Willow and Kiera disappeared, and it was Jane and Athena. And they got the people, and they started doing some good shit. And it wasn't bad, and the people were really reacting to it. And then the other two showed back up, and then it went back to girls' training school tag team match, and I lost really interest in what the fuck was happening. And Jane hit her finish 1, 2, 3 on Willow Nightingale.
Well, there was also some action at ringside with the manager, and that was one of the things I wanted to hear what you thought about.
I didn't even pay any attention. What the fuck did he do?
Why watch the match if you're not going to see that?
Well, because I mean, what the fuck? I wasn't expecting to see anything that I would care to talk about in this, and I didn't. But what did I miss?
You know, he's a heel manager. He goes out there and he does promos, and he could talk.
Yes, we mentioned that. He's very glib, and he's great. He could talk if he had anything to talk about and a show to talk on.
But he talks in a way to get people to pop for him as opposed to getting people to not like him. And he's at ringside managing the heels. I forget who came to ringside. Maybe Statlander just comes and just kind of like pushes him aside, and he just doesn't fall down or anything. He just walks around. And I'm like, what the hell? The other manager gets a cake in the face. He has no heat. No one cares. This manager, another heel manager, the other girl comes out, just shoves him away. He just walks around. No one knows what to do with managers there.
Well, that's it. Again, I guess Bivens or Stokely or whatever, he's better for Jane than Sterling was, but who wouldn't be? But they can't. He came from NXT where he had no heat, and they've put him with, you know, they've got to put, if you have a manager who's not with a top guy, figured into the finishes, figured into the fucking promos, etc., then you've just booked yourself an undercard manager that's never going to get over. A manager doesn't get over unless he's managing top talent. Then talent can get over because they're managed by a top manager, a la when they would put new guys in the AWA territory with Bobby Heenan, because he was already over. So then you put a heel with him, and it helps that heel. But Bobby Heenan got over by managing top guys, Blackjack Lanza, Blackjack Mulligan, the Valiant Brothers, Baron Von Raschke, Ernie Ladd. Then, you know, he was already over by the time he got to work for Vern and went with Bockwinkel and Stevenson, etc. But no, it doesn't matter how good the guy can talk. When he's with, you know, heels that are underneath, or Jane doesn't know how to get a lick of heat. She's brand new to begin with, but they present her as a star, but not a heel. She's not cheating to win. She's beating everybody. She calls herself a bitch. That's the heeliest thing she does. And normally heels would be calling other people bitches. So the manager is not going to have any heat.